Hey do Shangalangs, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Tabi and I'm back with another video. Welcome on season 2 of It's Nothing, It's Just a Podcast because it doesn't have a name. I can't believe that I've been gone for so long to a point where I even forgot the name of the podcast. But yeah, it still doesn't have a name, so it's just the podcast. The first season, I decided that we are going to be having me on the hot seat. You guys are going to be getting to know more about me, knowing me on a deeper level, knowing me as the now me, you know? And I was so excited when I actually got to ask the person that is actually going to be helping me to see this vision come to light. And they were like, listen, don't worry about it, baby girl, I got you. I got you. And thank you so much. Tessa, you guys won't get to see her, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity of allowing me to have you in my home, the Shangalang's home, and helping me to put this vision together. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just seeing this come to light, because that's something that I feel like a lot of my online friends will be happy to see, a side of me that they've never seen before. And first collaboration between you and I.
Wow. Oh, you're welcome. And I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Really happy to be here. I'm going to try not to bring out the big laughs, but yeah.
I'm so shy.
I'll go shy.
I am.
You like to say you're shy.
I am shy. You know, the thing is, in my recent journey of self-discovery, one thing I've realized is, for the most part, I think I just embodied things that people told me about myself, and I just ran with the flow, you know? Like, people would say stuff like, oh my God, you're such a loud person. You are an extrovert. You are a bubbly person. Yeah, I do see those traits here and there. But I think for the most part, those are just things that people used to say about me. And I just felt like, maybe these are things that people think are cool about me. So let me just run along with it.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. Because I get that a lot as well. But, actually, I am shy too.
Yeah, I am shy. And I think for the most part, I'm an introvert. I love being in my house, spending time with my dog.
Running 28 kilometers.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
Those are the things that I love. Those are the things that give me passion. I'm not a social person. I am not a person who likes to go out and meet people all the time. I think it's also because Angiphuzi mina.
Yay! Asimshayeleni izandla.
I'm just that girl who just wakes up every morning, goes for their 8-kilometer run, come back, take a shower, go to work,
dance,
come back.
You have to dance.
Yeah, I gotta dance. That's how you close up the workout. Right. And then I come back after work and spend time with Hank again.
Mama Hank.
I'm that dog mom.
You know, Tabi, the first time that you spoke about your life, I think I remember you telling me about your dad and you handling money. Like you like when you're money, I used to see money every day, counting money every day. I'm like, hey, any story that has to do with money, I'm there, I'm locked in. And I was like, hey, I don't know anything about you. And that was a very interesting story that you told me. And I'm like, when I go on your YouTube channel, I see the stories that are mainly about China, that are mainly about the dramas in your life here in China, your encounters here. And I'm like, why don't you just share a little bit or whatever amount of who you are, of the stories that made Tabi, the stories that live in your heart and live in your mind, the stories that allow us to sort of tap into your childhood, you know? I feel that everybody has a very interesting story to tell. Yes, there might be certain similarities in our stories, but I think everybody's story is very unique. And I personally have heard some bits of it, and I wish your audience, guys, I'm fighting. I'm fighting for you guys to get the quality of Tabi's life. So tell me about your dad.
My dad. What a man. So my dad, okay, let me just take it back a bit. So my name in full is Thabisile Goodness Subtilis. You know?
Wow. And where do you get those names?
I think I got Thabisile from my dad. And I got Goodness from my mom. And the last name is my dad's. And growing up, I never really... Thabisile was fine. It was just a name, you know? I hated Goodness so much. I don't know why. It felt like igama logoga basenze emakhishini. I hated it so much. I remember back in high school, I think even at varsity, like, you know, when you sign papers and sometimes you have to initial the papers, so you have to write TG.
Yeah.
The kids would ask, "Manje, uJumelin?" It's hi.
Who got us?
At some point, I think I started saying it's Gabrielle or something. Which now looking at it, it's worse than good.
Abo Gabriel ne? No, it's a nice name.
I never liked the name. I think now that is a name that is so special to me.
It's always the case.
Now that I've grown, it's such a beautiful name. I think even when I introduce myself to people, like, many come along, it's absolute goodness of Tillis.
And then you believe it's so good when...
Because, you know, when I look at my life
right
now, I'm like, oh my God, you know, there's just so much goodness. And I feel like the name was given to me with an intention to bring life into my life.
It was supposed to follow you.
Exactly. And a shame it is. You know, when they say, no matter how fast, no matter how slow, all the goodness of my life will follow me. Oh,
Hallelujah.
Amen. I'm telling you.
Right.
So I think that is why I actually love the name.
Right.
And I'm a daughter of two lovely parents, my dad, Bongani Buthelezi, and my mom, Christina Nkosi. And they passed on when I was really young. My mom first, and then my dad. But I spent, not most, but I remember, I have memories of me and my dad, and I don't have memories of me and my mom. So with my dad, I've always been a daddy's girl, you know. I think it's also because I was the firstborn from both of my parents. So there was just that thing, hey. So yeah, growing up, there was things here and there, but for the most part, I think we had a good relationship. We had a solid relationship. He was a very supportive dad, a dad who cared a lot about his children's education. He wished us all the best in life. Mina, who can remember. So my dad, at the beginning, he was a taxi driver, then later on became a taxi owner. So when he was a taxi driver, there were times where we would go out late at night, especially when he would pick me up from Tembisa, where I lived with my maternal grandparents, and I would have to come and visit him. There was a place, a Pizza Hut. You know, when I came to China, I actually forgot Oguti, Pizza Hut is such an old brand. Because angazi why, in my mind, when I came to China, I just never looked at it like that, you know. Until angazi ukuthi yini engikhumbuza, and I was like, wait, isn't this the place where I would go with ubaba and we would buy pizza ngeteksi yakhe?
How?
I think it's because at that time, brands that were famous, it was Roman's Pizza and Debonair's Pizza.
So Pizza Hut existed in South Africa?
I believe it did.
Like you'd get off the taxi and go by, or drive through?
No, we would go out the taxi and go by. So what would happen is, like, he would pick me up from Tembisa, and then on our way going home, we would pass by a Pizza Hut. And that Pizza Hut, I think, was in Houghton at that time. So we would go there and buy that pizza, And I don't know why, because now I hate the flavor. Hawaiian flavor, the one with the pineapples on top.
Pineapple.
I'm so sorry. I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. Disgusting. Disgusting.
In front of a person who believes uguti, pineapple and pizza is nice.
You think so?
Yes, I think so.
There is no way that thing is nice. And how do you get back to finding the flavor your pineapple is right when it's cold?
The same way you have hot coffee and cold coffee.
Okay, I feel like, oh yes, I do drink cold coffee, but I feel like hot coffee is normal.
Ngiyakuza, Tabi, ngiyakuza. Manje, you say you're the first child from both your parents. How long are you the only child?
I think until I'm 4, because my mom passed on when I was... No, sorry. So from both my parents, it was me. Then I have a sister who follows me from both of them as well. She also passed on earlier. I think she was maybe 2, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to lie. I don't have like a good recollection because all of these things happened when I was young. But she passed on after my mom. That I remember.
And with your dad, you get to spend how many years of his life and yours?
12 years? Because he passed on when I was 12.
Right. So how does life change when your mom passes away?
When my mom passed on, because I didn't really have a relationship with her. Well, not that I didn't have a relationship with her, but I couldn't remember her. So I can say I didn't have a relationship with her in that way. I would say it didn't really affect me that much. You know, life moved on. My dad met someone else. She raised me. I had more siblings from her. And then, later on, my dad passes on. And I think that one really affected me a lot, because in as much as, yes, with my mom, I felt like, it's whatever, you know. But I did have that thing that I felt like with my dad, this is the only parent I have left. This is the person that I belong to. This is the person that can fight for me. This is the person I can go to when I'm bothered by something. This is the person, you know. And then now, when I have to like lose that person as well, now it's like, so who do I go to? Who do I turn to? Who do I run to? Who's gonna protect me? Well, who can I count on? This person has my back, you know? Because like my dad was my world. And I think the reason my dad was my world is because I felt like, in as much as, yes, he played his part as my dad, but in my heart, that was the only person that I felt like I belonged to in the world.
I'm thinking your grandmother, maternal grandmother. I'm thinking if your mom passes away, your grandmother would be the one that says, let me take my daughter's child and raise her. Where's your grandmother?
My grandmother, so my mom got married to my dad very young, and my mom went to live with my dad's family in KZN. So when my mom passes on, she passed on living in KZN. So she was the only child. So she's that child. She was the only child.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, of course, I think that hit my grandmother really, really hard. So hard. And later on, she couldn't take me earlier on, but later on, I did get an opportunity to go and live with her due to some circumstances, you know. And then it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. So I had to like move back and go and live with my dad again. And Shem, at that time, I think I had some beef as a child when it came to my maternal grandmother, my maternal grandparents, because I felt like they could have done more you know.
So you felt that
Yeah.
way as a child
Yeah,
already?
they could have done more, especially because that's your only child that you had, and I am the only child that child had. So are you not supposed to take good care of the only thing that connects you to that thing, you know? And I felt like she failed me so much.
How would you describe growing up with a stepmother?
There's a lot that I can say about that situation. But then also at the same time, I feel like there's also things that haven't been addressed regarding that matter. And I think maybe this is not the platform where I can start having that conversation, but it's definitely something that I would like to talk about one day and go further deep into it, because I feel like it wouldn't make sense for me to just sit here and give you guys bits and pieces of some things that I feel like I can't share because they haven't been addressed before, you know, because I mean, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to like tell it like it is, leave my truth and be honest about it. So that's what I have to say about that.
Foster care. How long do you stay there?
So before I actually lived with my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, I lived in a foster care as well. I lived there for like a year. And when I tell you that now I understand why as a child, I always felt like when I grew up, I want to like have a big house, and this house wouldn't be my house. It would be a house where it will have kids who don't have parents to look after them, and I would be like their mom in a way. I never understood why I wanted to do that, because even with wanting to have my own biological children, it's something that came later on. Before that, I used to think, oh, I'm just going to grow up and have lots of money and I'm just going to adopt children, and that was my vibe. But then the older I get into it and try to process some of the things that I went through and experienced as a child, I am understanding that it is because of the experience I got at the foster house. It's not easy, Shem, guys. It's not easy. And I feel like people at foster house, they do the best that they can with what they have, because maybe there's like, 200 of you guys in the whole foster home. I lived in a big foster home because I lived in Walter Sisulu Children's Home. That was big.
Okay.
That's big. And Utoluguti, maybe in one dorm, there's like maybe, let's say 20 of you. I'm making an estimation. I'm not sure. Maybe 20, 25 of you. And then maybe the people that are allocated to look after you at that time it's four people, 3 people. Now,
How old were you when you went?
2003, I must have been like, 4 or 5? Somewhere there.
How does your dad, how does he react to you having to be taken to foster care?
He was heartbroken, of course, because he couldn't, like, the circumstances that took me there were beyond his control, which is why after I'd left the foster home, I had to go and live with my maternal grandparents. It was difficult for him, but talk is cheap. It's easy for me to sit here and be like, oh my God, I wish foster homes can do more. I think they are doing the best with what they have.
Right.
But no child deserves to grow up in a place like that. It's a difficult place for a child. Of course, there's nothing they can do about it. They just have to work with what they have. But it's a difficult place for a child to be in. I remember this one time there was a girl. Oh my God. No, I don't want to go deep into it because I feel like that's her story, and probably she'll watch this and she'll be like, what a coincidence. What are the chances? But it's not my story to tell. But yeah, I lived there for a year and then I left. It was...
So you still get to attend the same school?
Yes. No. Now there's like a school. It's like crash in a way for me now, because I was there when I was in crash, so I can't really remember what the others were doing, but I'm sure they were also attending a school because they couldn't just sit.
Oh, you went to foster care. You were still in preschool.
Yes. So they had their own daycare. So we would always attend lab.
Do you remember the day you left?
I don't remember it exactly, but I remember the first time I went to live with my maternal grandparents.
Describe that.
It was nice, you know? No, wait. Okay, I don't remember the exact day when I left the foster home, but I remember a few days after that, because I think I had known at the time that I was going to go and move and live with my grandparents. It was so beautiful. You know, like everyone was just so happy to see me. It was so heartwarming. It was so nice. Imagine at that time, ngangenza grade 1 or ngangiyeka grade 1. Imali apha bengipha yona 20 rands, 50 rands. Like everyone say, "How sheng ubuyile? Awu ngajabula ukubona me thenga drink." I remember when I went back to my home, my maternal grandparents' home. It was so nice.
Did ugogo take the money?
Of course. Uyabaza abazali hayi ugogo. Uyabaza abazali kanjani?
Let me hold it for you.
Asithi ngibambele uzolahleka imali yakho.
Yeah.
Namanje isalahleka imali yami ngoba ngiphinda ngayibona.
Oh my goodness.
Waloka idla kancane. Yaze yaphela. Sorry, but yeah. It was so nice. Yeah, bazi mos mogogo aba softy. You get away with a lot of stuff. And yeah, I loved it so much.
How did you feel having to now leave being with your grandparents to now going back to live with your dad? Do you remember that day? Do you remember what it felt to go back to that space?
It was nice. Why? Because I was thinking about my dad.
Okay.
You know, my dad, when I lived with my maternal grandparents, my dad used to come and pick me up on weekends, and I would spend the weekend with him. Although, like, we never spent most of the time together because he was working. He would always wake up every day in the mornings and come. But you know, those times that he would make and be like, "Oh, you know, hop in the car, let's go," and have these long rides. And he would always just have. It was like touch base. Because I never get time to spend with you and see what's up. So I'm just going to catch up with you and see what's up. So it was just moments like those. And I think I loved those moments more. And I had this impression in my mind that, oh, because now I'm going to live with him, it's going to be more than just let's touch base. You know, but it never happened like that because, I mean, he was still busy. He was still having to show up at work. And taxi drivers, like, they work really hard, guys. You know, they wake up early in the morning and they always come back late. So they hardly know what is going on in your life. So it was a lot of feelings attached to that. Because yes, I loved spending time with him as my parent, but then it was a matter of, oh, now when he has to go to work, then what then? You know?
Did you feel alone?
Yeah.
Even though you had people around you?
Guys, my dad was my world. Like nothing, if it went my way, probably bengahamba ngiyorenka naye. That's how secured I felt with him all the time.
What are some of the words that you remember your father saying to you?
This is my favorite memory of the two of us. So, grade 6, I get a notice letter from school that I was going to get a sponsorship. It was called a sponsorship. Scholarship is university, ne?
I mean, both can be a scholarship.
At that time, they used to call it sponsor. Okay, they called that thing sponsorship. So, okay, yeah, but that thing.
Yeah.
I got a notification letter that, okay, listen, Miss Goodness, You have just been on top of the game, baby girl.
Yes.
And as the school, the sponsor of the school has decided to go to wena. Ngikubhatala school fees this year, ne?
Oh, which grade?
6.
Yeah.
Ngikubhatala school fees, ne?
Okay.
And me sizokupha uniform yamala from top to bottom, blazer, shirt until shoes. Yonke into because hlakaniphile wena.
Yes.
You did your best.
Okay.
And then I remember they called my dad, and my dad comes home. He picks me up. My siblings were there at that time as well. But I think because they were young, my dad was just like, oh, I don't have time for that. So he always like took me everywhere.
Yeah.
He calls me, he says, come downstairs, get in the car. How about it takes obvious, Around 8 p.m., my dad most of the time would be doing his last drop-offs. So I think on that day, because I remember good kwakudlala generations ngaleso sikhathi leso, so I guess wavele wathi nje yani ngiyeke nini yahamba mina ngibona umntanami. He gets home. When he gets home, oh no, he picks me up. We go. Siapi, a Pizza Hut. Their Pizza Hut that now I'm thinking, I know you from somewhere, Wena.
Manjelo Pizza Hut is open at this hour.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Give along about Pizza Hut.
I don't know.
I think beba vala late lapan.
Okay.
So he picks me up. Okay, then he tells me how. Okay, bela agashongo in my exact words, but how baby girl. Yes, so good. Shainto zakho lapha esikoleni. What's up, Jiwe? So proud of you. And like I could see how proud he was on that day, And I just remember he said, hey, oymisele mntanami, ufunde khona nawe uzohamba uyohlala phesheya njengobaba omdala wakho. So my dad has an older brother who lives in the UK. He's lived in the UK for as long as I can remember. And he's like, ufunde nawe uzohamba uyohlala phesheya njengobaba omdala wakho. Yabona mhlazana uhamba, ngizolanda zonke iy'nkabi zami erenkeni ngiyifake etekisini sonke sikhaphe wena. Every time I think about those words, I think to myself, oh my God, I think my dad actually spoke life into my life. Because now I live the life that he once spoke about. I never thought I would live overseas. I never thought I would work overseas. It was never in my bingo cards in anything that I had to do in life. I just thought if I leave and go somewhere, Miami, I paid. It has got nothing to do with me following a dream that I had as a kid. No, I never had that. But that was something that my dad said. And I remember just laughing and being like, yeah, Baba. It's like, and yeah, we got the pizza and we drove back home. That's a moment I'll always carry in my heart because now I get to live that.
Do you remember how old you were? Oh,
funny enough.
That was grade 6, right? So that's...
Funny enough, I think he said, okay, this must have been something that happened around the beginning of the year because he passed on when I was doing grade 6, August. So he said that, and a few months later, he passed on.
I remember asking you before we started to record that in our lives, we have our parents or grandparents who always push us when it comes to education and say, it's time to do your homework. Did you do your homework? This term you didn't perform well. You need to pull up your socks with this and this and that. And I asked you, who was that person in your life? Because you lost your mom and then you lost your dad. So how does Utabi end up overseas? I know Uti, for us to work here, you need to have gone to university, completed a bachelor's degree, and obviously before that, you needed to have passed matric. So who's this person in your life who is watching over you, who is pushing you, who is guarding you, who is saying this child needs to make it through school? Who funds your education? Who does that for you now that you've lost your parents?
I think for the most part, I had the strong will to like get things done because I knew. I think after losing my dad, I came to a harsh realization that this is manje. Because that was the only person that I felt like I belonged to. So that was like my backup plan in a way. But then when he like passed on, oh my God. Like, yeah, my world came crumbling and crashing. So I knew from there and then that in this life, I have no one to fall back on. I have no plan B. I have to make things happen for myself, or else I'm dead. Okay, what do they call it? Rhetorically speaking.
I get it.
Yeah, that thing, I had to make it work. I had no choice. Yabo. And at that time, I was also just thinking there's a lot that is at stake for me. Because if I don't make it in life, then that means I will amount to nothing. I am at university. And I think another thing that pushed me, those kids that used to bully me in high school. Those kids pushed me to fight. I think it was also because in my mind, I felt like I had to compensate for something, Yeah, you might not think I am the most beautiful person you've ever met in your life, but you can't say I'm not smart. You can't say I'm dumb. So I pushed. I think it was also just me wanting to prove them wrong. I pushed so hard. Oh my God. Thank you guys. You guys are the best. But yeah, like they made me really good. Like, Jay, I think that was my way of compensating. Like I said, I'm going to Jay. You can't say udomu and the movie. Awukwazi ukusho njalo. So Jay, yeah, they motivated me too.
At some point when we were speaking, you said something about the journey of discovery, the journey of finding yourself. What is that? What's that journey? What is finding yourself?
So I've always been a person that is open about my journey of going to therapy a lot. I talk about it a lot. And I think for the most part, I've been in therapy for a very long time, but in that moment, in that period, I feel like I was not putting in the work of going into therapy until I think 2-3 years back. I don't know what happened. Then I just took it serious. I think I was also just tired of the way I was living my life. I felt like I was living my life just because, hey, we're on earth. What else can I do? I have to live and do what I gotta do. But I just wanted to live a very intentional life, a life with purpose, a life that I feel like would make me happy. I think that was how I wanted to start this journey of self-discovery. That's what motivated it. And then I think also because, like I mentioned before, when I lost my mom at a young age, it never really affected me in any way. I wouldn't say I didn't care, but I didn't care because I didn't know her like that. And then the older I got, I started caring. 2-3 years back, I went home to install a tombstone for my grandma and my dad. And that was, I think, a huge accomplishment for me in my whole entire life. I know Guti, I've done bigger things, but that was so big for me because it's something I've always spoken about ever since I was a kid. I remember like in high school, I always spoke about how I want to like grow up, get a job, my first paycheck, like the first fruit, give it to your parents. I always said with my first paycheck, I'm going to go and do that for initially it was my dad, but my dad loved his mom so much, so very much. So it felt like an honor for me to be able to do something like that for the both of them. And in the midst of doing that, I don't know, out of nowhere, it just hit me. Like I really just grew an interest in wanting to know my mom. And I think it was also because I was going through the path of discovering myself, And she didn't play that much of a role in my life, but she did play a role in my life. I mean, I'm here because of her, So I just started growing an interest, and I would talk to my aunt about her, the type of person she was, because I just know her face, but I don't know her. I don't know the type of person she is and all of that stuff. And, she would talk about just how much of a great human being she was. And I realized just how much I missed out on an opportunity to be raised by an amazing human being. Oh. It felt, wanting to know something and you realize, I remember at that time, I had actually spoken to my therapist, one of my therapists that I used to work with, because wow. And, I remember going into that session and he was asking me, so what's going on? Anything in your mind? And I'm like, listen, I don't know why, but I am so interested. I just grew an interest out of nowhere of wanting to know about my mom, And he understood that. And he was like, I think it's because now you are trying to discover yourself. So you're trying to like put all the pieces together and try to see like what's going on, And yeah, he was like, go for it, because my thing was, okay, how am I gonna make it make sense? Let's say I do find these things about her or I get to know about her. I don't remember her. So it's gonna look like someone is just talking about someone that I don't know. But let me tell you something interesting. It actually clicks. I don't know why, but now I feel like I have some sort of bond with her. And I think it's also because of me having to learn stuff about her and also realizing we have so many similarities. We have so much in common, Growing up, my dad used to convince me that I look like him. And most people used to say, oh, you look like your dad. Hey, man, those people don't know what people look like. I feel like I am the copy and paste of my mom. Like my mom was just like, wait, tatala, begala. We look the same. The only difference is I'm dark-skinned and she was fair-skinned. That's the only difference. And, I'm a bit taller than her. She was short. But we look the same. But just the characteristics, I know everyone has nice things to say about people when they are no longer alive. But I get the sense they're not lying because I have the same things. Like, my mom was a very kind person, and they say, like, she was a very kind person, very respectful, very considerate. Okay, I guess I get that from my dad. Like, she was just a very lovely human being, and which I think is one of the things, because one of the things that I used to like think about most of the time is, oh my God, later on, I should have children so that I get to like carry on my mother's legacy. It was so important for me to do that. But, later on with healing and understanding stuff, I realized that was actually a very selfish reason to want to have children, because I mean, I feel like I should want to have children because I have a desire of being a mom, and I didn't want that to be the reason. Because now it's like I'm putting this big responsibility onto them. Like, I feel like I would be too hard on them because I have this expectation I have of them. Pela, this is not about me, but Nina, the reason I had you guys is because I want to have to continue a certain legacy.
Yeah.
I'm a very giving person. That fulfills my heart. It makes me so happy. It gives me the feeling of fulfillment in a way. I don't know. And I think also because of my experience as a child, I've always been a person that loved, working with children from disadvantaged backgrounds and stuff like that. So I started a foundation called the Goodness Foundation. We've been like on running for like 2 years now. It's based in South Africa, of course. I have friends, really good friends of mine who are passionate about giving back to the community. And we work together with finding places. It could be an orphanage, an aftercare program or whatever with children. We go there, we give out a helping hand. It doesn't have to be too much. But yeah, it's been a nice experience so far. So, ngizocela donation.
Okay.
Angidli imali yenu, guys. It's for a good cause.
I like that you said you don't just give money. You actually lend your hand. You go there.
Yeah, because what else can I do that is fulfilling? I think time, like they say, time is the most expensive commodity. Is it? I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, if they say time is money and...
Yeah, then I guess it is expensive. So, I mean, I would rather spend my time doing that. That is what would give me fulfillment. So, yeah, that is a legacy I hope to grow and pass on to my kids because that is a legacy my mom left for me. In a way, because that's the person that she was, and
the legacy of giving.
Yes, because that was the person that she was. I didn't even know that. Yeah, I've always just been a person who just loved giving, and when I heard Ugutinai, she was the same. I was like, oh, now I get it. I get it. Now I know where I get this from.
Oh,
and it's such a beautiful thing because it doesn't feel like she's gone, It's like I just can't see her, but she's still here with me, hugging me.
Oh.
So yeah, she's such an amazing lady. So I'm proud to be a daughter, and I hope I get to like make her even more prouder,
I think she's already proud.
Yeah.
I think your dad is also very proud of you.
I nearly said he better.
I felt you hold back.